everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Quick Trivia with Mike. It's the weekly game show right here on channel 955 where we test your knowledge of facts. Sometimes they're a little bit more historical in nature. Sometimes they're very contemporary. Hopefully, they're always a lot of fun. I am your host and the quizmaster, Mike Brever, and I'm joined today by my very special guest, Majorca Ford Siegelbauer. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I am just fine, just fine. Have you ever seen the show? I think you told me you kind of seen it.
I've kind of seen it. Never officially listened to it, but seen it. And I know the residents talk about it and they enjoy it very much.
Wonderful. Yeah. Excellent. Well, now you'll get to see for yourself firsthand.
Perfect.
And then you can judge for yourself, too.
I'll see how well I did.
We'll see how well we did. I can tell you, folks, that today's show is a little bit different. Normally we have some music coming into the show. We usually take an intermission where you can go get a donut and a cup of coffee. We also have music exiting the show. None of that today. My cameraman and editor, Scott McFerrin, he's on vacation this week. He's out in San Francisco.
Ooh.
So I am the cameraman and the editor and the one.
You don't have quite as many skills as he does?
Well, actually, I'm actually the one who did it all in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
But I want people to miss Scott.
Sure.
I want them to know that Scott's not here, and that makes a tremendous difference. The reality of it, too, is for those of you who have been looking for me this week, I only had a 4-day week, and I got my regular things to do. I'm doing some of Scott's, so some things had to give.
Correct.
And so we're just going to make it a great show by our wonderful banter, and hopefully that'll make up for it.
Yes, hopefully it will.
Excellent. You all know how the game is played by now. I give you 3 questions every week, and then I challenge you to come up with the answers. Then we begin the show by giving you the answers from last week, which
okay.
I'm sure you know. And then we end the show by giving them 3 new questions for the coming week.
Okay.
Now, you can throw out answers from the questions for last week that we're going to answer today.
Perfect.
But if perchance you know the answers to any of the questions in the second half of the show, we're going to have to ask you to please keep it to yourself, because we're hoping people have a little bit of fun with
Okay,
this.
perfect.
And for those of you who are watching, we are taping the show on Wednesday. You're watching it on Friday, and again on Sunday. So this is Easter week. So happy Easter to all of you.
Yes.
You'll be seeing the show for the very first time on Good Friday, and then we'll replay it on Easter Sunday.
Perfect.
So, you know, maybe between visits from family and friends and things like that, you're watching, and if so, we're glad to have you.
Yes, it'll be very exciting.
Okay, we have a brand new tradition here at Quick Trivia, which we're going to do first, Majorca, and that is birthdays of the week. Who are the birthday kids here at East Castle Place this week? We're going to begin the week with, let me see, who do we have? Dan Otis.
Okay, Mr. Otis.
Oh, Mr. Otis on April 21st. On April 22nd, we have a couple of birthday twins. Judy Christofferson on April 22nd and Audrey Keys.
Oh.
Both on April 22nd.
Happy birthday, ladies.
On April 23rd, Deborah Hoffman.
Okay.
Another new
resident.
That's
yes.
correct. See, people get on the birthday list very quickly.
They do.
First thing you move in and you are on the list. You're getting recognized right away.
It's a good list to be
That's
on.
great. A wonderful list.
Wonderful
a wonderful list. And you know the old saying, any day you're on the right side of the grass is a good day.
Correct.
So this is a good list to be on because we're all on the right side of the grass.
We're all on the right side of the grass.
That's right. And last but not least this week, and actually it bridges into next week a little bit, not a new resident, but she's been here about 2 years now, Fiona Firstner.
Yes, Fiona.
Fiona, our ballerina. Our ballerina, right? And she also was a choreographer for the Milwaukee Ballet.
I did not
for a
know
long
that.
time. At the end of her performing career,
she
went into choreography.
Oh,
she went into choreography.
Sure.
There you go. Sometime if you get an opportunity, I encourage you to sit down and chat.
She has amazing stories.
Oh,
amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I think She was at the San Francisco Ballet.
She was, yes.
The Philadelphia Ballet and the Milwaukee Ballet.
Yes, and then
right?
they toured all over the world, and the stories she has from being overseas are incredible.
And she's just a wonderful person.
She is. She's a very nice lady.
She really is. So April 24th is Fiona's birthday. So happy birthday to Dan, Judy, Audrey, Deborah, and Fiona. If you happen to see any of these birthday kids in the corridor this week, wish them a happy birthday from you and from all of us here
at East Castle.
At East Castle Place. Exactly, and all of us at Quick Trivia. So there you have it. Well, Majorca, we're going to begin with that lovely name of yours. Tell us a little bit about it. It kind of sounds like East European,
maybe?
It
does sound East European. There are the Majorca Islands over off of the coast of Spain, but that is actually not where my parents got it.
Okay.
My parents actually made it up.
Really?
They did. So my dad's name is Mark.
Okay.
And my mom's name is Jana.
Okay.
And when she was pregnant with me, she only wanted an only child.
Okay.
So she wanted me to have a really unique, meaningful name. So she put together Mark and Jana. She just took the first letter of both names, kind of mixed them around, and eventually came up with Majorca. So it's truly made up. My mom did not realize until after she came up with it that there were the Majorca Islands off the coast of Spain.
Okay.
So yeah, it is really just my parents' names put together.
I don't usually actually get a story when I ask that question, but that is wonderful.
There is a story. And so then my middle name is Bryn, which my dad's middle name is Robert, and my mom's middle name is Lynn, and she got Bryn. I do actually have two first names, so my real first name is Majorca Maiana.
Majorca Maiana Bryn.
Correct. Ford Ziegelbauer.
My gosh, how did you print that out in grade school?
It was a struggle. I don't think I spelled it correctly till 4th grade.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Honestly.
You know, many of you know my wife is a first grade teacher. She would hate that name.
She would.
She would. Yeah, because kids have to write their own name.
Yes.
So she would hate having to teach that to someone.
Yes, and many people think my last name is hyphenated because I was married, but I actually wasn't. It was my name I was given when I was born. When my parents were in the delivery room, my dad made some joke about Ziegelbauer and being the last kids in the alphabet, and my mom didn't take fondly to his joke. So that is when she decided to give all of her children a hyphenated last name. So Ford is my mom's maiden name, and then Ziegelbauer is my dad's name.
And you know what? My wife and I had 4 kids.
Okay.
And I was with her in delivery for each of the 4 kids. I can tell you beyond any shadow of a doubt, women do not take kindly to joking
during those times. No, I can imagine.
During labor.
Yes,
they do not. It's just a truism.
Right.
So now we have another example
correct.
of it.
That's
and because of that, you're Ford Ziegelbauer.
Yes, I am. And as much as she wanted an only child, I'm the oldest of 5. So the unique name of being the only one really didn't work out for her.
So your dad kind of had the last laugh after all, didn't he?
My dad did have the last laugh after all, correct.
Okay,
yes.
Very good. Now you've been with us for how long now?
I have been here for almost 6 months.
Oh, wonderful.
So I am enjoying it as much as I did the first day.
What I like is every time I see you, you've got a smile on your face.
Good.
You look like you're having a good time here.
Yeah, we do. We have a fun time, which is nice. You should come to work and be happy. Yes, I have a fantastic team. You know, we've had some struggles with hourly staff, but that's a given.
Yes.
But the managers and the core hourly staff that's been here for a while are amazing. They're really enjoyable to work with.
You know, and I know, and particularly with the hourly staff, you viewers have been very helpful trying to help us create a work environment that keeps hourly staff happy. The treasure chest and the scholarship fund and the employee appreciation fund at Christmas.
The employee appreciation fund at Christmas is amazing. When I first heard of that, I was blown away. Yeah. And then seeing the amount of donations that there are even blew me away more. And
when you think that our census has dropped because of fewer units, but donations have gone up.
That's amazing.
It truly is. It truly is. You're a very generous group of people, and we're all grateful. We're all very grateful. So, now you are not actually a chef though.
I'm not.
A manager.
So I have, I've picked up some cooking skills over time and know how to do certain things, but my forte is a little bit more on the service side of things. being able to execute, being able to see what is needed and find the best way to establish it. I have a lot of experience in resort hospitality, but I always kind of joke is very similar to a resort, except for the guests never leave. They're continuously here every single day. Physically, correct. That you don't have a new crowd of people checking in and checking out. That I kind of think of when we're doing deliveries to rooms as similar to what we did as room service.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The dining room is the dining room. So, you guys are the guests that we just take care of on a daily basis.
You've really got a great chef working with you.
Yes, Tim does a fantastic job. He has a great background. He can kind of see the vision and can make great dishes happen. And I think the residents have seen that with how the food has improved since Tim has arrived.
I agree.
Yes.
I've heard nothing but wonderful compliments about it. And some of it, I sincerely believe, is the fact that every chef comes from a little bit different background. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Tim's not afraid to exhibit his background.
Correct.
In what he does.
You can tell in some of the specialty dishes he does that it's his time when he was, working in the South, or when he was working on the East Coast. So he has a lot of that knowledge that he's brought to the table, and residents really seem to be enjoying it.
Great. And I've gotten a lot of very positive feedback.
Yeah.
So hats off to you.
Perfect.
And to your entire team.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good. Well, Majorca, let's take a look at last week's 3 questions.
Okay, let's see how smart I am.
Normally we would take an intermission then.
Okay.
Today we're not going to.
Okay.
But we will come back and talk with you before we get into this week's questions.
Perfect.
Okay? You need not be concerned about what we're going to chat about.
All right.
We're just getting better acquainted. So, of course, that Earth Week
is coming up.
Earth Week starts on Friday, April 22nd. April 22nd. Now that is in fact a Friday, but for us here at East Castle Place, we're starting Earth Week on a Friday.
And it's going to continue through the next week, correct?
Correct,
Yes.
correct. So as a tribute to Marion Fraley and our own, I always call it the Green Committee, but I think it's the Environmental Committee.
I think it's the Environmental Committee also, yes.
I've been corrected on that, and I try to get things right, but I will tell you, green is much easier to say, and it actually says what you are. So,
correct,
so there
it
you go.
does.
But as a tribute to our very own Green Committee and to the efforts going on here, we've been highlighting a question a week in the month of April, Earth Month, if you will, on conservation techniques. And, we highlighted decomposition rates a week or so ago.
Okay.
Last week, and today we're going to reveal the answer, we talked about renewable energy.
Okay.
What a challenge it is for the entire world, actually, to break itself of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, of course, can be consumed once, and then they're done.
Correct.
So we have a challenge in front of us to come up with renewable energy. And we talked about the fact that there are all kinds of efforts ongoing to demonstrate that this is in fact a workable model and a cost-effective model. There is actually one country as an experiment that went 100% renewable energy, and they tried to see if they could do it for 100 days.
Okay.
And one country was actually able to do it.
They were successful.
One country was actually able to go 100% renewable for 100 days.
Wow.
And I challenged our viewers to tell me, what was that country?
Where was it?
Where was it? Do you have an idea?
I'm going to say Denmark.
Actually, that's not bad. It's not correct. But one of the key things is that the country is on water. So that's a renewable source.
Extra sources there.
Clearly more wind the closer you are to the water. It is in fact a Central American country.
Really?
While some places in the United States have run on 100% renewable energy, such as Burlington, Vermont, they're already 100% renewable. Huh. The entirety of the country has not. Some countries have run completely on renewable energy for a period of time, including Denmark.
Okay.
They ran entirely on wind for 1 day. Portugal ran on wind, solar, and hydropower for 4 days. Costa Rica is the answer. Costa Rica was entirely powered by renewable energy
for
100 days to prove that it could be done and to prove that the economy wouldn't completely collapse.
Wow.
Now again, they had a lot of advantages in terms of the fact that literally, 3 or 4 different types of renewable energy were at their disposal, but it was Costa Rica.
Okay.
Our second question from last week. We are deep in the throes of what season?
Like spring? Like seasonal? Or like sports season? Or...
none of those. We're deep in the throes of the season of Lent.
Oh yes, of course. It's Easter. Yes.
Easter. Lent always starts on...
It always starts on Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday, yes. Correct. And it formally ends on Easter. But the Triduum is really the ending of Lent. Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday. That's this week, by the way. And for those of you that are watching it on Friday, today is Good Friday. For those of you watching it on Sunday, Happy Easter! There you go. We talked about, the origins of Lent, how it commemorates Jesus is going off into the desert for 40 days. Ironically, we talked about this last week. If you take, and I'm sure all you viewers remember this from last week, if you count the days from Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday, it's not 40 days.
No, it's a little bit more, isn't it? It's because I thought we did Lent for 6 weeks.
We do.
Yes, okay.
We do.
Okay.
It is 46 days.
Okay.
So why does everybody say Lent is 40 days when by a calendar it's 46?
I don't want to sound silly, but was time told differently?
No.
I didn't think so, but...
Back in the origins of the church, people thought they needed a break, so Sundays don't count.
That's right.
There
Sundays
you go. So when you give up candy for Lent, you can garbage up on Sunday. That's right. Sundays don't count.
Sundays don't count.
That's right. So 40 days really aren't 40 days. Only in the church.
Only in the church.
Only in the church.
Okay.
However, in Latin, of course, Lent is the Quadragesima, which is the 40th.
Okay.
The Quadragesima, Latin, of course. Once again, Lent starts on Ash Wednesday.
Correct.
My question to our viewers last week was, where does the church get the ashes that they sprinkle on our foreheads with the sign of the cross on Ash Wednesday? Where did those ashes come from?
I have no idea. I never thought of something like that. Would it come from something the church is already using?
In a fashion.
In a fashion?
Yep.
Would it come from... No, it wouldn't come from the candles.
No. Candles don't make ashes.
They don't make ashes.
Right. But it is something the church has used previously. And used up, obviously.
Sure. I'm not sure.
They come from the palms of Palm Sunday.
So
the leftover
Palm Sundays
of 2021 would make the ashes for Ash Wednesday of 2022. The leftover palms from Palm Sunday of 2022 are burnt and make the ashes for Ash Wednesday of 2023. So the ashes for Ash Wednesday come from the palms
from the year before.
From the year before Palm Sunday.
Okay.
That, my friends, was question number 2.
Today.
See, isn't this fun?
It is.
Question number 3, we went off a little bit on Hollywood history.
Okay.
But not movie history. We talked about Hollywood in terms of television.
Okay.
Television. We talked about the way people historically tell what's on TV. TV Guide.
TV Guide.
TV Guide. It actually started as a local publication in New York, and in the 1950s, I believe it was 1953, it became a national publication. The very first week that it went national, it sold something like 1,560,000 copies in 10 U.S. cities.
Wow.
And they knew they had a hit.
Wow.
And it continued from there. In 1953, April 3rd was the original edition. Something was very big at that time, and that was I Love Lucy. Lucille Ball adorned the cover of the very first edition of TV Guide, but she was joined on the cover by someone who eventually became a rock and roll star. My question to our viewers, and now to you, Majorca, was who was this rock and roll star who joined Lucille Ball on the cover of the very first national edition of TV Guide on April 3rd, 1953.
53 was, 53.
Eventually became a rock and roll star.
Was he younger when he was on the cover?
He was. He didn't become a rock and roll star
So-
for 20 years.
Was it Elvis Presley?
No,
No.
no.
Was he in a band or was he by himself?
He was in a band.
He was in a band.
Yeah, actually at the time, it wasn't a one-hit wonder, but because of the band itself, they were very, very famous. But, I mean, they weren't like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones.
Sure.
But they nonetheless were very, very famous in the 70s.
Somebody from
Primarily because of who they were.
Somebody from the Monkees?
No,
No?
no, no.
I don't know that.
It was her very own son, Desi Arnaz Jr.,
Oh!
who was a baby at
Who
the
was
time.
a baby at the time. Okay.
And Desi Arnaz Jr. teamed up with Dean Martin's son and a third instrumentalist named Billy. And they created the band Dino, Desi, and Billy.
Ah.
And they did a couple of songs,
Sure.
big
Yeah.
hits
Yeah.
for the era. So that's it. Desi Arnaz Jr., Lucille
Should've known
Ball's
that.
infant son,
Was on the cover with him.
on the cover with Lucille Ball on April 3rd, 1953. There you have it.
Wow.
That was the answer to question number 3. And you got
Okay.
close on some of them.
A little bit
I'm
there.
impressed. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
I know a little bit of stuff, I'll have to say. Sometimes.
Okay. Well, you know, a lot of times we try to come up with questions that have a little bit of a nuance
Well,
to
you
it.
have to do a little
So
bit of
that-
research and
yeah,
figure it out, where it's not something you just know off the top of your head, where you have to
Exactly.
do some research.
And you know, if you go off in the wrong direction, sometimes you're lost, and you
Oh, I
can never
imagine.
come up
You
with
can
the
never
answer.
find it.
Right.
Yes.
For example, in your case, you started thinking about Elvis Presley.
Yes.
You know, well, I mean, you never would have found it then.
No, I
never,
wouldn't have.
because you're already on the wrong track.
Correct.
So there you go. Hopefully these have been a lot of fun. Now, folks, we typically take a break now. I tell you to go get yourself a cup of coffee, maybe a donut, a little bit of that high sugar brain food, because we got some real brain teasers coming up for you. But we're not doing that today. And why is that again?
Because Scott is on vacation in San Francisco.
That's
and
correct.
he does all the editing.
He does all the editing.
So we
And
want you guys to appreciate him
that's correct.
more than you already do.
That's correct.
And see that we need his help and we miss him when he's not here.
When he's not here, we miss him a
Correct.
great deal.
Yes.
A great deal. But we're going to begin like we usually do in the second half with talking to you a little bit
Okay.
again. Now, tell us, we're starting to open up more and more now.
Correct. We are starting to open up more and more now. So about 2 weeks ago, we opened up for lunch.
Okay.
The lunch crowd is kind of, some days we have 15 or 20 folks, some days we have 3 or 4. I really feel as the weather gets nicer and residents are out and about, we will see a little bit more folks at lunch. We also are open up for 2 guests per resident again in the dining room.
Wonderful.
Which is
People have been anxious
fantastic.
for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
they have been. So it's great
Exactly.
to be able to meet some of the residents' family members.
Great.
Don't forget that you can also bring guests down at lunchtime. So if you are looking just to have maybe your grandkids come and visit or some old friends come, lunch is a good time for that as well.
Very
Yes.
good. My own grandson is going to be here on the day that you're watching this. On
On
Friday, my son and my grandson, who's only a year and a half, are coming to see Marv Weber, my
Okay,
father-in-law.
yes.
So they're going to come and visit. I don't think they're coming for lunch, so you might not meet them. But if you see a very handsome young man and his very handsome 1.5-year-old baby, that's probably my son and grandson. So
Perfect.
Say hello. Say hello. They're coming to see their great-grandfather. So
Fun.
There you go.
Yes.
And I can tell you though, Majorca, having been here pre-COVID, you're probably seeing what was typical of the lunch crowd.
That is what,
even pre-COVID.
Correct. That's what some of the staff who was here pre-COVID has mentioned, that, you know, lunch was kind of hit or miss. It was hard to know what to expect. We just enjoy having the ability to allow the residents to come down.
Yes.
Because we enjoy interacting with everybody and getting to chat with them a little bit. So lunch is just another area the staff can kind of chat with them and get to know them a little bit more.
One of the things you've not seen in the lunch yet is that people like myself or maybe Tyler, I mean, we many times would host people for a business lunch of some sort.
Next week, Wednesday, Anna is inviting folks who are on the wait list for apartments to come to lunch. So I'm not sure how many potential future residents will have joining us, but that'll be the first time I have seen kind of a hosted lunch by somebody here at East Castle. So
great
it's
opportunity
exciting.
to show off a little bit.
Yes, it definitely is.
And I know when he has an opportunity, Tim really goes all out.
He really likes to go all out when he has the chance to. So I'm sure we'll have some type of nice feature that day to kind of show off our abilities.
Put a wonderful spread on for us with a paint and sip.
Yes, he did.
Absolutely amazing.
It was very good. The grilled vegetables have gone over well, and residents are asking for them a little bit more often.
Good.
So those are a few things we hope to do in the summer months.
So he's really picked up a bit of a Mediterranean flair.
He has, yes, he has. He's got a little bit of that Eastern European background in him from a few of the restaurants he's worked at.
So when you're not here 70 hours a week, like you are, what do you do when you go home?
So I enjoy spending a ton of time with my family. So I have 2 kids. My son is 20. My daughter's 21. So I say that they are their own little people now. But of course, everybody still needs mom. So, you know, hanging out with them, spending time with them when they can. I have lots of nieces and nephews. So spending time with them as well. When the weather finally gets a little bit nicer, I really love being outside, going for a hike, going for a walk, anything kind of outdoorsy. Just don't enjoy the cold weather and the snow. Yeah. So we need the sunshine to come out.
I mean, and the real problem here, maybe more of you feel this way too. I mean, like this winter, for example, we didn't really have
a ton of snow or really cold.
But we had no sun.
The sun, you know,
for like 4 months straight.
Correct.
It's cloudy and overcast
I'm
every
okay
day.
if it's 30 degrees out, but just have the sun peek out every once in a while.
I'm a real believer in SAD, seasonal affective disorder. You know, I really believe in that. And even as, like today, we're taping on Wednesday, beautiful day out for spring. It's about 60 degrees, but it's cloudy and overcast
There's
again.
no sun. You know, you get the sun out and you see people's spirits jump immensely.
I agree.
So it's time for the sun to stop hibernating and come and join us a little bit.
So you're an outdoorsy person?
I'm an outdoorsy person when it's warm out. I don't want to be outside in the winter. Snow is not my thing.
I don't blame you.
And, you know, I really enjoy cooking, you know, whatever I can for my family. And it's just this kind of my way to relax, is to kind of be in the kitchen.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So, any future plans in the dining room that people can look forward to?
It's actually, we're going to have a little bit of a bumpy summer, I'll say, with construction.
Yeah.
We are just really unsure of dates yet, of when we're going to be closed and what our plan is going to be. I'm going to work with the Food and Beverage Committee with some options of when that does happen, how will dinner service look. But we're excited for November, December-ish, when we have a brand new bistro, we have a brand new club room with the ability to have additional seating and a bar in there, and then have the new dining room, where we really will almost have 3 different, per se, restaurants, where we can have a variety of different things to offer the residents.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's exciting. So
Very
we can't wait to get to that point.
And of course, when all is said and done, then you're also going to have the bar. Where people could come down a half hour early and have a drink.
People can come down early for a drink. You know, we haven't decided yet if we'll be open for lunch over there or what we'll do, but have the ability to have specials during the Brewer games or the Bucks games. Just have a little bit more of a atmosphere where the residents can get together.
And I think that's really what makes East Castle Place
Correct.
special.
Yes.
We really go out of our way to try to make it special for people,
Of course,
right?
you know, you guys, this is your guys' home.
Yeah.
We want to provide you with the areas where you can get together with your neighbors and have that space to have a great time and have some cocktails and chit chat about what's going on in your life right now.
And I think that's really important.
Correct.
Especially after the last 2 years.
Yes, I think
Nobody's had a chance to
No.
chit chat with anybody about anything.
correct. I think everybody's been so cooped up that we're just excited to kind of be let loose and be able to enjoy life again.
That's really good.
Yes.
Really good. Well, shall we take a look at this week's questions?
Yes, let's see what this week's questions are.
People know that I have a real affinity for history. My undergraduate degree was a Bachelor of Arts in History.
Okay.
My master's was in, I have an MS in Management. But history is always kind of a fun thing for me. And I like to go back and look at presidents. I also like to look at Civil War. And today, we're going back to the Civil War.
Okay.
Now, you know, the Civil War was the most hazardous war in our nation's history. Over 600,000 people were killed in the Civil War. And you know why it was so hazardous in America? Why so many people died?
Didn't some of them get sick?
There were,
Wasn't-
medicine of course was not
Sure.
very good. Gangrene set in from injuries. But both sides were Americans.
Oh, true. Yes.
So Confederate, Union, they were both Americans. So now after the war we count them up, 600,000
It's a lot.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, only 50,000 people.
Wow.
Deadly war. But the Civil War, just catastrophic. It began on April 12th, 1861, a date that has just passed. Fort Sumter, of course, is where the war began. It ended on May 9th, 1865, shortly after Appomattox, the surrender of General Lee, probably about 3 weeks earlier, was when he passed away. The Civil War, contrary to revisionist history, really primarily was about the continuation of slavery. And it began when Abraham Lincoln was elected. His platform was not to abolish slavery. His platform was to abolish the spread of slavery.
Okay.
And in spite of that, the Confederacy was formed, the Civil War began, but in many of the seceding states, the institution of slavery was directly in their constitution. So, you know, I mean, there's a real theory today that states' rights played a big role in it. Well, yeah, states' rights to have slaves. What's the big issue? But at any rate, it was one of the most devastating wars in our history. It also changed America, probably more than any other war. January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation. Again, single battles, Antietam, 15,000 people in one day dying. Just devastating battles. And part of that is because technology had advanced. Guns were much better, they were much faster, they were stronger, they were more accurate, but armies were still using Napoleonic tactics, which meant marching as a group and trying to mass so many people that the guns couldn't kill you all.
Sure.
Well, so they literally sacrificed tens of thousands of people at a time just to try to win a battle. My question to our viewers, now that we have reviewed a little bit about the Civil War again, which began again at Fort Sumter, the very first casualty of the war occurred at Fort Sumter. Soldier by the name of Daniel Huff, H-O-U-G-H. He is in fact considered the very first casualty of the war, but he did not die by enemy fire. How did the very first casualty of the war die at Fort Sumter to be followed by 600,000 other people?
Other folks.
What happened to Daniel Huff at Fort Sumter? That is question number one.
Interesting.
Question number two. This is just kind of a fun one.
Okay.
We're going to take a look at duct tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape.
When my daughter was younger, she had a fascination with it.
You know,
when all of the colors started and patterns and things.
That's it.
Yes.
My previous job was at PBS.
Okay.
And PBS had a wonderful, wonderful show called The Red-Green Show. Part of the Red-Green Show's theory was that duct tape was the handyman's secret weapon.
Fixes everything.
Fixes everything!
Fixes everything.
Fixes everything. You know, there is actually, duct tape has been snuck aboard every astronaut mission out into outer space. Just in case.
Send it along just to be on the safe side.
Just in case. Well, the duct tape guys, Jim Berg and Tim Nyberg, have written 7 books about duct tape as of 2005. Their best-selling books have sold over $1.5 million. In 1994, they coined the phrase, "It ain't broke, it just lacks duct tape." Duct tape has really become the answer to everything. The Discovery Channel series, The Mythbusters, featured duct tape in a number of myths that solve non-traditional problems. And it just goes on and on. Garrison Keillor's radio show, A Prairie Home Companion, included comedic fictional commercials sponsored by the American Duct Tape Council. It really has become a lexicon, if you will, in American culture, and probably throughout the world, for all I know. Common duct tape actually carries no safety certification such as UL or Proposition 65. So although it's used for a lot of different things, many of those things it probably shouldn't be used for. Nevertheless, it is a wonderful solution for lots of things. It actually, in all likelihood, is what saved the astronauts on Apollo 13.
Because they made the filters.
Yes, the air exchangers.
Correct.
They were going to die of CO2 poisoning, and they had to duct tape a new filter, which was configured on ground, and they told them how to do it, and it ended up saving their lives. So duct tape, in a very real sense, saved their lives. Yeah, and of course the rest is history. Tom Hanks goes off and talks about him in Apollo 13, and yeah, it's just a wonderful, wonderful program. My question to all of you: where does the name duct tape come from? Where does the name duct tape come from? Question number 2. I'm sure you know the answer to that, so I'm going to encourage you not to share it out loud.
I will not share it out loud.
Okay. Question number 3. I've already shared with you. We're doing an environmental question once a week. And this is in tribute to our very own environmental committee, commonly called the Green Committee. Sorry, Marion. It just rolls off the tongue, but there you have it. You know, what I really find interesting, we're going to talk a little bit about how the world relies on fresh water.
Okay.
And how blessed we are here in the United States to have fresh water. Large, massive urban areas with millions of people never could have congregated if it weren't for the availability and proximity to fresh water. Great cities like Milwaukee, Chicago, they grew up on the banks of large fresh water bodies, and it really has created society and culture as we know it today. In fact, in the mid-1800s, the middle of the 19th century, rivers were really the superhighways of the time. That's how we transported goods around. It's not that way everywhere. In the developing world, water is a scarce commodity in many cases. And the acquisition, the acquiring of water is very much a gender-based ordeal as well. In developing countries, women walk an average of 4 miles every day just to fetch water.
Wow.
And in all likelihood, the water that they fetch
is probably
contaminated.
Yes.
Is contaminated. So gender roles as they relate to water scarcity in developing countries differ from those in the West. Women and young girls are expected to take the responsibility of gathering the needed amount of water to sustain their lives on a daily basis. That typically turns out to be up to a 44-pound container of water that they cart 4 miles every day. It's estimated that in Africa in particular, 90% of the work involved in gathering water and preparing food is done by the women.
Wow.
All of these statistics come from the Global Water Institute. It's estimated that women and children spend around 40 billion hours a year gathering water in sub-Saharan African countries. And in all likelihood, the water they bring back is contaminated. So,
wow.
I mean, water really is a scarce commodity, and we are blessed here in the United States. We are so blessed that we are wasteful and frivolous. In the United States, due to poor plumbing infrastructure, we waste gabs of fresh water every day that is better than the water that women walk 4 miles to acquire. My question to you, because of decaying plumbing and out-of-date infrastructure, how much water does the United States waste every year? And I will ask you to come up with your answer within 1 million gallons.
Wow, it's crazy that you're accepting an answer within 1 million
Within
gallons.
1 million gallons. How much clean water do we lose every year because we really don't care enough to make sure that our infrastructure can handle it properly? Correct. That, my friends, is question number 3.
That's an interesting one.
Well, so we shall see if anyone comes up with the
I'm curious
answer.
to see what the answer is for that.
You know how to get your answers to me by now. By noon on Monday, you can call me at 963-8425. You can email me at mbrevertyscastleplace.com. You can write your answers on a sheet of paper, slide them under my door by my office, or in lieu of that, what could they do?
Leave them at the front desk?
They could. There's also one other option.
Phone, email. I'm not sure.
Open up my office door and put it on the conference table.
I suppose that's
my door's not locked.
It's always open.
It's always open. So come on in. And in fact, if I happen to be there, I have Girl Scout cookies in my office. Come on in.
Yummy.
You'll get a Girl Scout cookie.
I'm going to bring you some answers for some cookies.
You get me the most answers by next week, your name will be on Quick Trivia with Mike next week.
Perfect.
All right? So there you have it, folks. That's our show for this week. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. I know you have lots of options. Over 150 cable stations are at your beck and call. I love the fact that you spend a half hour with me. I love the fact that you've taken the time to be with Majorca this week as well.
Thank you for inviting me. It was fun, and I am excited to do it again in the future.
Thank you, Majorca. Yeah. I had a really wonderful time today.
It was nice.
I hope you mean it, that you'll come back again.
I will come back.
Good.
Yes.
I know we are looking at new programming for Channel 955 as well. That might involve a lot of you and people like Majorca.
Correct.
So stay tuned. Jen over in HR is working on a concept right now, so keep your ear to the ground.
Me in a little. It sounds interesting.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It'd be a lot of fun. It would be.
So there you have it, folks. That's our show for this week. As always, I'd like to thank the president of ECTV, Tyler Gudex. I'd really like to thank our executive producer, Stacy Abbott. Even though he's not here this week, I want to thank my producer and cameraman, Scott McFerrin. Anything you like about Quick Trivia with Mike probably has his fingerprints all over it. I encourage you to thank him sometime. Let him know that you enjoy the program. He'd really love to hear from you. There you have it, folks. That's our show for this week. Until next week when Majorca and I see you again. Well, yes. Majorca won't be here next week, but I will. I'll have a new guest host. I encourage you to remember those wonderful, wonderful, and prescient words of the recently departed Betty White.
Yes.
One of my favorite stars of all time. She encouraged all of us to get 8 hours of beauty sleep nightly. Unless, of course, you're ugly. In which case, she highly recommended that you get 9. So there you have it, folks. I'll see you next week. So long.
Happy Easter.